Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to the TraderMerlin Show. It is your Wednesday edition, Hump Day, earnings announcement day. It's the exciting one with Netflix and Tesla reporting earnings after hours today. So should be a wild day, not only in the after hours session, but to start off tomorrow. Now, just so you know, I've been trying to figure out what's going on. Every day, it seems like I get a internet drop right around the middle of the day. So I'm keeping on that same connection. I'm going to see if it happens again today. If not, I'll have to do some wiring issues to get that weird, for some reason, just drops. I'm not sure how that happens. Anyway, it is the 18th of October. As I mentioned, it's Wednesday. Let's dive right in. Thank you, Lisa. I appreciate you hit that like button. Of course, if people who don't, I see you have two choices. You can either hit the like button, which means you liked it, or if you don't like it, then email me at TraderMerlin@gmail.com, which is on your screen, and tell me why you didn't like it, and then we'll make it better so you will hit the like button. So there you go. Make it easy for everybody. All right, let me go into our overall charts and then discuss this piece right here. You notice I've got my nice little box of popcorn over there because, as you know, I like to call it the popcorn trade of the day, where your charts look like this in the after-hours session. Now, what do we make of all of it? Well, it should be a pretty interesting market tomorrow. I will start things off with, let's start things off with Netflix. So I'll bring over the table here as I built out. The Netflix was the real surprise here. You guys may have actually watched the tweet that I put out earlier. I kind of was laughing to myself as I saw it, just because Jim Cramer always cracks me up with what he does. But expected numbers for Netflix. They actually did pretty well, and we'll show you the chart here in just a second of Netflix. They were expected to come out with $3.49 per share. They came out at $3.73. Not bad. Now, where it really kicks in is the revenue. So even though they had better earnings per share, their revenue was right around the same number at $8.54 billion. So nothing changed there. Now with that, let's go look at the Netflix price chart, which you can see right here. It has been pretty gloomy since at least middle of July, where it's up over $480, has dripped all the way back down to $346. And in the after-hour session right now, we are at this blue line right here, which is $390.75. So it's actually up 12.8% in the after-hour session. Now, I laugh about this because I just posted something to Twitter. You guys notice these lines I have on my screen. I'll get rid of some of them. But Jim Cramer, back on January 3rd of last year, so we're going on 2 years now, he said, buy, buy, buy. That was his tweet that he posted out. Buy, buy, buy. And that's when Netflix was at $597 $597 per share. So a crazy one. Well, I tweeted this out today, which says it's crazy to think that Netflix is up 137% off the 2022 lows and still needs to move up another 54% just to hit the level that Jim Cramer told people to buy back in 2022. Do your own research. Never trust a talking head. That includes me, right? Listen to what I take all my information and use it for your own bidding, if you will. Just make sure that you do your own research, check your numbers, make sure it's in your risk tolerance. So it just kind of cracked me up that, you know, we are seeing this this price target from Jim Cramer all the way back in 2022. And, you know, from that point that he said, buy, 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 Netflix dropped 72%. And now it's back up. So I'm sure we'll start hearing Jim Cramer talk more about it. But anyway, let's look at the after hours time frame here. So I've got to switch this over to, let's say, a 5-minute chart. And you can see that in the extended hours trading, Netflix doing great. It's a huge pop. Now, some of you have asked me, I got 2 messages that asked how this is going to impact the NASDAQ tomorrow. I'll be honest, not that much. We'll talk about the weightings here, but when you look at the power of Netflix, it's diminished greatly. So here is your, I think I had it up here, the NASDAQ 100 weightings, which talks about which ones are the most heavily weighted and have the most influence on that index. So if you look here, Apple, obviously number 1, Microsoft number 2. Here is Tesla, which we'll talk about in a second. That's number 8 at 3.18% of the index. But I got to keep scrolling down here to find Netflix, which is right around 17th on the list at 1.33%. So while this may have a little bit of a pop in the NASDAQ futures tomorrow, you can see here in the after hours, there was a little bit of a pop in the NASDAQ, but nothing, overly dramatic. Whereas Netflix is up, 11% right now. The NASDAQ is up 0.5%. So will this bring Santa, Daryl says. I don't think so. If we look at some of the data from Netflix, their subscriber base increased, and of course, we could say that was due to Tibor. Tibor subscribed last month, so it's all Tibor's fault that Netflix has great earnings. But here's what they're doing, and this is probably why the analysts are liking this, is they are raising their prices yet again. Now, this may actually cause me to move away from Netflix. I watch too much TV, so maybe I'll cancel my Netflix here, but look what they're doing. They're going from $19.99 to $22.99, so they're bumping it up significantly with regards to the premiums that they're earning for their platform. So it's a $3 increase. If you look at that, call it 20, what is that, a 15% increase? $3, yeah, right around a 15% increase in fare and fees. Kind of strange to see that big of a jump. And then you have their basic package is going to jump up $2 per share from $9.99 to $11.99. This will most likely increase their bottom line significantly and bring a lot more revenue. One of the great things about getting people hooked on recurring payments and credit, when you connect to your credit card, is you don't think about it, right? Most people aren't going to sit there and notice a big change when their credit card jumps from $19.99 a month to $22.99 per month. However, you do that over several million people, and all of a sudden the bottom line for Netflix could really start to increase. And I think that is why you're seeing such a big pop here today in NFLX. Man, just a gorgeous looking chart, but still well off of its highs. And of course, the mockery I give of Jim Cramer's pick back here in 2022, and it was right near its all-time high. So, yeah, no surprise there. I didn't think so, especially when they made the announcement on their fee increases, because most people aren't going to cancel. I am one of those people who actually do look at all the numbers, and I think I may actually cancel my Netflix. I've got other subscription services, so why have 5 subscription services when I watch all of them a little bit? Rather just watch one subscription service, consume most of the content there, and then move on to another one when they give me some special incentive to open up that one. So that's your Netflix, the best performer, at least from the earnings announcement. We'll talk more about other earnings announcements here in just a second. But let's dive into Tesla. So Tesla, much more impactful. As we just looked at the holdings for the NASDAQ 100, Tesla is about 3.2% of the NASDAQ 100, which is obviously much more powerful than we have with Netflix's 1.3%. All right, so what were their numbers like? Not very good. On their earnings, they were expecting $0.73 per share. They came out at 66 cents per share. That's a pretty significant miss for those who are following along on the earnings calendar. That not a very good earnings announcement there. They were citing a lot of data pertaining to competition, profit margins declining. Of course, they've been cutting the price of their vehicles consistently over the past year because of that competition. Now, they missed by 8%, right? So they were supposed to come out with 72 cents. They came out at 66. That's a miss about 8%. They're up in the after hours, which I'll show you here in just a second. But here is the other numbers for Tesla. You had revenue. Revenue was expected to be $24.1 billion, came out at $23.35. Now, of course, I agree, Oliver says that's a bad miss. I agree. That's a pretty bad miss. However, Tesla is the master at having something up their sleeve, right? It's like the magic trick didn't work, and they go, but look over here. And of course, what do you think that they're going to say? Well, they're going to say, our Cybertruck is going to be released this year. And they kind of dropped that one in their press statement, which of course makes everybody feel warm and fuzzy because all of a sudden it's a new vehicle. It's the shiny new thing that everyone's going to want. So let's go and look at Tesla's chart here. From a technical perspective, Tesla is not really a pretty looking chart at all, right? It's just consolidating. You could look at this and say it's pretty much in a sideways trend as we've been kind of lower highs and higher lows going through on Tesla. Not looking that great. However, we go to the 5-minute chart here, look at our after-hour session. This is why this graphic looks like this. I have this graphic for a reason. Big move up, big move down. It just bounces all over the place. Okay, well, what does Tesla's chart look like? Notice the initial swings. Let's put it on a 1 minute just to really drive home the point. You had a neck-breaking action go on right as that announcement came out. You can see it whipped down, screamed up, came absolutely ripping to the downside, and then screamed back up all over the place. So if you're a short-term day trader, this thing is going to leave you with some serious ulcers, which is why I tell everybody, don't trade earnings announcements when they come out. The volatility is just too much, and you have no real clue as to what they're going to do. Say, even if the numbers are great, it could come crashing down. I mean, here you have Tesla with really bad numbers. They missed on revenue. They missed on earnings. Sales are worse than expected, and now all of a sudden it's up 1.94% in the after-hour session. Crazy to see from Tesla. Now, I'll go back to the daily here to see if anything is changing with regards to this picture, right? For me, I'm looking at this as a trend, right? Going from January lows for Tesla, which were down around $100. Remember we were selling puts at 100. That was a good trade there. I actually ended up sold the 110s. I got the filled and got my Tesla shares called away from me, which I wish I would have held them, but it is what it is. But you notice this picture here from those lows is a ascending triangle. It is just a series of higher highs, higher lows. The only real issue is what's between these two blue lines, which is a compression of price. Now, if you look at the post market, which is where my cursor is, we're right here. We're right near the bottom of this triangle. So keep your eye over the next couple days. I think that if you get down below the most recent lows, which is right around 239.76, if it does drop down below that, then I think you got more downside movement and maybe the realization that Tesla isn't as shiny and the glory days, as Tom Barr will say, are slowing down as more competition creeps in and Tesla's valuations drop back down towards normal automaker prices, which, again, we agree to disagree on this one. I don't think that Tesla is just auto, but I do think that they have this holier than thou, the almighty in the EV space, and I think that is slowly being chunked away. Now, you did hear announcements from GE saying that they're going to, they're going to postpone the manufacturing of electric trucks until next year, until they have all the logistics in place, which of course is good for Tesla because that means they have another year advantage over on GM. Let's see. Big Eb says, Tesla leaves a lot of details until the conference call to create the drama. I think so. If you got something really bad going on, it's like, I always use stupid examples, but I imagine a kid, just made an absolute mess in his kitchen or did something really bad and got really bad on the report card. And then comes home and parents are yelling. The kid's like, "Oh, I know, but Mom, I cleaned my room." It's like, what? Oh, wait, what? Distract you from the real numbers with something exciting. And I do think personally that the Cybertruck is going to have a big impact. Now, Tom says Cybertruck is new news. It's definitely not new news, but there was questions about will it actually be delivered this year. A lot of people were wishy-washy on that. I heard some numbers saying third quarter of this year, fourth quarter of this year, and then a lot of people saying next year, 2024. You're seeing them on the roads. I haven't seen them yet, but I'm seeing videos of these on the road. So, if they can release that this year, then that has people looking at that and not really focusing on these numbers, which weren't great. Still not terrible, but they beat earnings or missed earnings expectations and revenue targets. So that's obviously not a good thing, but they are starting to become a little more of a maturing company as they get bigger and their PE ratios are going to have to come back down to normal level. They will have to compete against used electric Rivians, Silverados, Hummers, F-150s. F-150s are experiencing a real big decline in their sales. The Lightning, I actually like that. If I see that Ford is going to offer me some great specials near the end of the year for an F-150 Lightning, I may actually be in the market for one. I really wasn't planning on it. I don't drive much anyway. I'd rather not. You know me, give me my Toyota double cab Tacoma or Tundra 4x4. That's all I need. I don't need anything else. But if you give me a nice Ford F-150 Lightning 4x4, I might make the switch. What else we have here? Tesla Model X is 25% less than a year ago. I know, right, Big Ab? It's like you start looking at him going, maybe I will get a Tesla, right? It's getting cheaper and cheaper. It won't work for really long distance driving. At least in my mind, I see that being a big problem going forward is the amount of charging stations on long drives. So for example, if I want to go to Vegas or back to Northern California, I may have some issues there with lines waiting for the superchargers, etc. So yeah, I wouldn't want to use my electric vehicle for that type of transportation, but in my local around town, sure, I'll do it. Lisa says, doesn't what Musk is doing with Twitter making a difference with Tesla as well? If you think about what he's doing with Twitter, obviously they're two separate businesses, right? But it's the same face. And he's kind of branded himself. He's such a name that it doesn't matter if you're involved in financial markets or not, you know who Elon Musk is. So I think when you hear the name, you hear what's going on with Twitter and the successes, all the successes he have, I think instinctively you bet on that winning horse. So I do think that it's helping Tesla, the whole Twitter deal. I mean, he's the most followed person on social media now. He is a prolific tweeter out there, and hopefully he doesn't go too political, which I notice he started to turn and go political, which I think is dangerous because he'll start to sway opinions. And, if you get to the point where someone with his influence becomes radicalized himself or has some crazy oddball idea, you can now kind of force that on the populace by being so followed and watched, and that's a dangerous thing. And so far, he hasn't gone off the rails. At a couple things he's done crazy, like the Joe Rogan thing, where he's smoking a joint on Joe Rogan's show. But bravo, good for you, Elon. As long as you keep getting your job done and you don't hurt anybody along the way, then you got no problem from me. Tom, people got to get smart, start switching streaming services when it's time to binge. Yep, and your sports teams are in season and unsubscribe is needed. Absolutely, Tom. The only one that I want to make sure I keep all the time is YouTube TV. And that's because I like watching sporting events, and I'm not going to pay for NFL Sunday Ticket. I'm not going to pay for League Pass or basketball. I'll watch the local games. And to be honest, I can find any sporting event, just any sporting event, anything event I can actually find online if I wanted to and stream that through some third-party site. But I like having YouTube TV. So YouTube TV is number one. But yeah, binge on those platforms while they give you a special deal. Right now I have Peacock. I wanted to watch, what was the show? Oh, I wanted to watch... All right, I'm going off on a tangent. Thanks, guys. Here you go. You're bringing me to a human level. If you haven't seen the movie Strays, it's pretty hilarious. Now, I will warn you, I know some of you are sensitive to cursing and profanity. If you are, don't watch Strays. It's very much like the movie that came out a couple years back called Sausage Party, which is Joe Rogan and a couple other comedy actors, but it's foul, it's raunchy. But Strays is absolutely hilarious. As you guys know, I'm a dog lover. I've got a German Shepherd, and there's actually a guest appearance by a German Shepherd in Strays. But that's on Peacock. And if you have the Peacock app, you can watch it for free. Otherwise, you have to pay like $20 on other networks. So, all right, I paid $5.99 for a month. I'm going to binge watch on Peacock, whatever shows I want or movies, and then I will move away, cancel that subscription, and just join it if something else comes in. But anyway, great movie. Absolutely hilarious if you haven't seen it yet. Musk is going to charge for new Twitter account users with something related to tweeting. Yeah, so what he's trying to do, and I get it, he's trying to block these bot systems, these bots that go in and just spam. And you'll notice if you follow me on Twitter, you'll see I get tagged in a lot of stuff. Now, I'm not an influencer. I really don't, I'm not, I don't know. I don't know how many followers I have. I think I have 7,500 followers. Whatever, great. It's nice to know that people hopefully are getting something out of the content. But if you look at, where the heck was I going on that one? Damn it. If you look at what I'm tagged in, people who are out there selling Ripple right now, and they're trying to get people in this Ripple scam. So they keep tagging me so that my viewers see it, or my followers see it, and then maybe they get interested. So I literally am blocking every day, probably 20 or 30 spammers that come through, 30 bots. I just block them all. And he's trying to prevent that by charging, a fee for new people to tweet, which I don't really know how that's going to work, right? What about legitimate people like yourselves who don't have a Twitter account and you want to, go in there and start tweeting? You can right now create accounts for free and just spam all you want. There's no recourse. And the belief is that if you make the fee high enough and they keep tweeting out, it's going to cost them money, and ultimately it's not going to be worth it for them and they'll leave. This is one of the principles of cryptocurrencies as well, which is why when you look at the consensus mechanisms of it, you have to pay to utilize a network. So for example, if I use something like Solana has extremely low fees. So if I wanted to crash that network, I could send out, let's say, 500,000 transactions at once, and it might only cost me a couple of pennies each. So I allot some money, I send out all these transactions at once. I could literally crash the Solana network because it just can't handle that much data or transactions. It will freeze up and crash. With Ethereum, go ahead and do that. Try to send out 600,000 transactions all at once on Ethereum. It's going to cost you millions of dollars. That's why Ethereum has kind of higher transaction costs, is to deter actors from spamming the network and shutting it down. And I think that Twitter is taking a page out of that book and saying, well, let's charge people for making tweets. Therefore, if you want to spam, great. If you're going to tag 50,000 people in one post, you're paying for each one of those tags. So it'd be interesting to see how it all pans out. I have not received a bill for my tweets, but as you guys know, I'm not a big tweeter. I'm going to try to do it more because I do need to grow my audience, and hopefully, maybe I can just make this my one. I just trade and do this would be great. Let's see. Tom says, dump YouTube TV and can watch the 11 minutes of NFL action, a whole game in 12 minutes. Yeah, I know, Tom, but I like to watch the games. I like to sit there and watch the dialogue and break down the games and see each play, at least for the 49ers, right? For the rest of it, yeah, I'll watch the Cliff Note version. But I want to watch my 49ers game. And there's some times where you just want an escape. right? We've all had days where you just feel beaten up, you're frustrated, you're tired, you're exhausted, you don't want to talk about the stress of other people's jobs or family or relationships, and you go, you know what? I just want to watch a boxing match or a football game or something to just kind of take my mind off it. So I'll keep it. I'll keep it. But you're right. We can find all that stuff elsewhere for free. All right. What else do I want to get here to today? So with the Tesla, they didn't do anything with their premium, and I'll leave it at that. So let's walk through our markets. And I saw, Big Eb, you made a comment earlier about the short trade. Yeah, it was a great day for my shorts. I was a little bit disappointed. I told you on yesterday's show that I wanted to short more of the Russell, but I only did 40 puts. And some of you are asking what strike price. Let me zoom out here and I'll show you the strike price. Let's go to IWM. And I'm going to make this 155. So 155 is the strike that I sold. Or sorry, the strike that I bought. I went directional on this one. So that's that red line down here at the bottom. And the reason I chose the 155 is, A, they were relatively cheap. And B, it was right at the origin of this big gap. So you guys can see where my cursor is. I'll zoom in here in a second. Now this goes back to October of 2020, where you had this kind of slow drift down, a gap down into an island of price for 4 days, and then it bounced out of this. So I really like that level as a target for IWM at 155, which is why I bought the 155 puts. They were cheap because there wasn't any fear a couple of days ago. Let me go back to our current markets. And where's our chart? Give me the current price. Come on. There it is. So this is our current. You can see a big sideways trend for the better part of a year. Hopefully, Tom, you're still doing spreads on this one. But, you know, I shorted yesterday as we came back up into this overhead supply, and I bought 40 puts. I wanted to buy more. I had my finger on the trigger for another 20, and I said, let's just wait. Let's just see, you know, how it goes. And unfortunately, I didn't. I only have 40. Today, obviously, when that happens and you have a 2% down day with 40 put options directional, you can imagine the premium was a pretty significant increase in just 24 hours. And this is one of the reasons I actually really like options. You know, I know we have some options trader in the room. I will tell you, let's just look at the rate of return just for today on IWM. Let me make sure I have it just for today. 24.48% gain just today alone on the IWM puts that I'm in, and over the past 2 days, it's a 38.21% rate of return. And you know, who knows if this is done here, right? Do we come ripping back up? We easily could, right? So I've got to be a little bit careful in this, but I do think we're going to come back, test these lows, most likely break through them, as I feel that there's just too much uncertainty going on in the world. I don't see this issue in the Middle East being resolved anytime soon, and therefore I think you're going to see a little bit more pessimism for the market. So I'll hold on to this one. The expiration of my 155 puts that I purchased on IWM is for January 17th. So I've got plenty of time here, but as you guys know, I will be out of those positions by 30 days to expiration. So I'll be out by third week of December. No questions asked. It doesn't matter what the position looks like. I will exit that at least by expiration, if not before then, right? All right, so there you go. Wanted to give you the transparency in that one. Yeah, it was a pretty nice rate of return. Good move. Hopefully we'll continue. It comes to quite a bit. You can do the math, John. If you pull up a chart, so if you actually go up to the price chart of IWM, you can actually see the price of the options contract. So I want to say the buy price I had was 151. And it's currently at 211 is the price of those put options. Options are great when they're going away. Absolutely, Big Ab. Yep, absolutely, which is why, you got to be careful. I don't want to go over too heavy on this one, although, I like the commentary with Brandon Wendell yesterday because he's right. It certainly could have a big pop to the upside, but I'm going off of what has been tried and true and worked for me, which is lower highs, lower highs, lower highs. I'm going with that trend. And, I always teach this. When you are in a downtrend, you want to short into areas of overhead supply. And lo and behold, what we saw on October 11th formed a nice area of supply. It made for a no-brainer for me. I think this one's okay. Actually, I have two trades. Well, I have multiple trades. Let me walk you through these ones I'm in right now. I think you guys know I'm in XLU, right? So I sold the $54 puts on XLU when we were in this big panic day here on October 2nd. Those expire Friday. I could exit right now, but I think this has been a great trade. XLU was just way oversold in my opinion. I gave you a bunch of justification as to why I was looking at XLU as a potential buy point. I think I actually wrote an article. I wrote an article for Bar Chart on this one on why I was going long XLU. And I think that this has been a really nice rally up here in XLU. Now, it looks like it's starting to roll over a little bit, but personally, I don't care because I don't believe that there's any way that utilities are going to fall 8% by Friday. I just don't think that's going to happen. So I'm going to let those expire worthless. Now, the other trade, Target. Target, I have the 105s. Let me make sure. Let me just look at the app here real quick. I got one. Cancel that one. Target, yes, the 105 puts. Now, this one's a little riskier, right? 105 is not that far away from current price. And we fell about 2.09% today. So if I look down here to 105, that means that by Friday, Target would have to fall another 4.7% for me to start worrying about being put those shares. I'm really not worried about that one either, right? I'll let those expire worthless. And there's one other, and I love this one. I made this trade when I was teaching my class in Irvine last week. If you question it and talk to any of my students, we took this one and I was talking about it in class. Was this oversold situation on ExxonMobil into an area of demand and a hammer formation. It was just like this trifecta for me to go long on ExxonMobil, and I ended up buying directional calls for January as well, and this thing has had a great rally up. So I bought right as we broke above this the high from Wednesday, October 11th. Right now, you're up 5.6% on that one. So that's been a pretty nice trade as well. So I got a couple of really nice working trades. 2 are directional with IWM and with ExxonMobil. I'm long ExxonMobil, short IWM. And then the other 2 with XLU and Target, those are covered cash secured puts. You bought calls on ExxonMobil? Yeah. Good. I hope you bought them a couple days ago. January call. Yeah, you're in the same boat as me. Do I have a trail stop on those puts? I do not. All right, I do not. Not at this point. I mean, I have numbers in my head, but nothing that's in the system. All right. Let's see. You can step up your whiskey game. John, my whiskey game is tight. My whiskey game is pretty on point. I have roughly 70 bottles in my liquor cabinet. And the funny part is I only really drink on Fridays. And when I'm on the show, that's pretty much all I'll do is have a nice little glass of whiskey. But I really only drink like the nice whiskeys on this show. And it really depends on the mood, how the trading week went. What other one? You guys, the biggest position I have is on silver. And silver's been on an absolute rip lately. So I was kind of hoping we keep on continuing here. I have $22 calls against my position, and we'll see if that gets taken away. I have some at 22 and I have some at 22.50. But right now, it's been a fantastic week and a half, 2 weeks for my silver position. So there we go. Anyway, transparency, showing you what I'm in and why I'm in it. There we go. Let's see, listen, a little early, but yes, they're green, but full disclosure, I don't come close to the number of positions. It's okay. No worries. It's not a competition. It's not trying to keep up with the Jones or anything like that, right? It's about what you're comfortable with and what you think is going to make you money. All right, send me that bourbon video, John. I always love it. There's actually a really cool show on Netflix called Heist, Heist. Let me see if I can bring it up here. If anybody is interested in as anybody here's a whiskey drinker, yeah, it is a really very interesting. They're true stories about criminal thefts and robberies that have happened in the past. And let's see, where's the one? Oh, here. So this is it. It's called The Bourbon King Part 1 and Bourbon King Part 2. If you are interested, watch it. It's on Netflix. It is great. This whole bourbon story is mind-boggling. These guys were stealing barrels of whiskey. Not just bottles or a case, but a freaking barrel, which they have to really roll into trucks. They're hundreds of pounds, if not, way more than that. Crazy. But anyway, good story. The Bourbon King on Netflix. The series is called Heist, H-E-I-S-T. Okay. Other things that are noteworthy. Let's talk about our 10-year. This has been not good. We just broke an 8-year high. We hit 4.9% on that 10-year. Again, I still am holding to the 10-year, getting up to levels that are going to push that 30-year fixed rate mortgage to 9% by the end of the year. Now we'd have to get up to about there. So it's going to be a pretty aggressive run. But remember, we're taking on more debt. If we continue to fund Israel and we fund the Ukraine and we continue to send tens of billions of dollars to those countries to help support their war efforts, whether you agree with that or not, it's still money that's coming from somewhere. And that's inflating money supply. Now that in theory should actually hurt the dollar, push the dollar down, but it's going to push yields up because now we're spreading ourselves even thinner financially, putting on more debt, which as you've seen has approaching $33 trillion. May actually breach it here I think it breached $33 trillion. Now they're talking about hitting 34 in a very short period of time. So you're looking at troubling times for the markets. And again, that's one of the catalysts for me is why I'm kind of in this bullish phase right now. I'm certainly not all in bullish, my brain is frazzled today. There's all that trivia last night. I'm in a bearish phase, but not all in. I'm definitely making some bearish trades, but I've got bullish trades on Target. I got bullish trades on utilities. I got bullish trades on ExxonMobil. So there are pockets where I'm looking at optimistic bounces, but overall, I do think you're going to see these markets drift lower, as I mentioned with the S&P. Here's your S&P on the day. Pretty ugly down day, 1.35%. I do think you'll come back and challenge that little yellow box there, which we have not closed below. We've closed right on it, but not below that yellow box, which is down around 4,263 is the low end of that demand zone. Now, I'll work our way from the bottom to the top. Obviously, we've already looked at the Russell, so I don't need to spend any time there. You look at the NASDAQ, was down 1.41% today. Aggressive red candle, broke below the last 3 days low. I think you're actually going to come back down and challenge this red line I had, which is at 14,609 for the NASDAQ 100. Could be ugly. We just looked at the S&P. There's Bitcoin, which still is reeling from the optimism of a Bitcoin spot ETF. I don't know if you guys saw Larry Fink from BlackRock was on CNBC basically saying there's a demand for Bitcoin around the world. We're seeing lots of it, and it has utility. So one of the biggest fund managers in the world is saying, legalize or approve the spot Bitcoin ETF. You had Kathy Wood was on I think it was CNBC or one of those shows talking about the spot Bitcoin ETF. So the pressure is mounting. I do think it's going to happen. And when it does, I guess there's a couple plays to be made here. Number one, be long Bitcoin, which I am. The other one, which we've talked about a lot in the past, but maybe need to rekindle that discussion, is this bad boy right here, which is GBTC. So you'll notice the trajectory of GBTC has really been closing this gap. For those that don't know what this represents the difference between the price of GBTC and the spot price of gold. So they should be equal. They should be at this black line 0 because GBTC actually owns physical Bitcoin. I believe it's like 600,000 of them. They have a lot of Bitcoin. Well, the difference was becoming so great simply because people were not interested in GBTC anymore, and the price of that was declining. Now, the belief is, and I think this may actually be true, that if we get that spot Bitcoin ETF, right now there's a $6,000 difference between GBTC and and Bitcoin. Remember, GBTC is 1/1000th of a Bitcoin. So when you do the math here, price it out, GBTC is way cheaper than Bitcoin. So if this gets converted to a spot Bitcoin ETF, right now it's a trust. If it gets converted, then this could pop right back up to parity, and that might create a significant increase for those who are holding it. That would give you an increase of roughly, oh, come on, Merlin. You see my numbers here. About 99% is what it says based off the calculations from there. So it could be a pretty one. Unfortunately, there was no options on GBTC. Yeah, well, the good news for anybody who doesn't have a lot of money, you go GBTC, you could just buy, it's only $19 a share. Remember, you'd have to buy 1,000 of these to actually get one full Bitcoin worth. That means that right now they're pricing in Bitcoin at $22,210. Well, if you look at the futures market, Bitcoin is actually much higher than that. Bitcoin is at $28,320. So that would equate to about a $6,000 jump just because it gets converted from a Bitcoin trust to a spot Bitcoin ETF. ProShares came out with their Ether ETF. Yeah, apparently it's not doing so hot, not getting a lot of attention. And it's kind of the wrong time to do it. I guess there's two ways to look at that, Oliver. If ProShares came out with their Ethereum ETF, great. But right now, there's so much speculation on what's going to happen with the SEC and making the announcement regarding a spot Bitcoin ETF. I think I personally would have waited till that happened. But it's a futures ETF. It's not a spot ETF. Like they can't do it. It's the same problem they have with Bitcoin. They wouldn't be able to do a spot Ethereum ETF yet. But what could happen is as soon as the Bitcoin ETF is approved for spot, you might start to see people lining up to get the Ethereum spot ETF created, which I think that would start to bring in more attention. How far does the ES pull back before it continues down? Well, let's take a peek. I don't know the answer to that one, John, but we can look at this and form some estimates. Now, if you go through core strategy, which is what OTA teaches, I'm definitely a practitioner of it. I'm basically looking at this big uptrend we've had since October of last year. Go back to 2022, S&P's been on a nice uptrend. When it right here is where it actually started to show some weakness, then it broke those lows, that's significant weakness, and now I'm thinking we are in a downtrend. So you ask, how far does the ES pull back before it continues down? For me, it's if we break these lows that we established a couple weeks ago. It's this October 4th low right here, which is at 42.35. I'll put a line right across that low just so I can have it as a reference point. To me, a close below 42.35, that's when you're now looking at probably a sharp drop down to 41.50, and then maybe some of these other lower levels. I don't see any really super strong demand zones there to hold it up. So yeah, I think you have to look at this from the perspective of, at least for right now, look at the trend has been reversed, and starting from July 31st of last year, actually July 27th, we're now making lower lows and lower highs. So again, as I mentioned yesterday with Brendan, the trend is your friend until the bend at the end, right? We're looking at this trend to the south side here. That's where I'm making my bigger bets right now, is to the short side. And they have been paying off this past couple months. Gio says, Merlin, is there any videos you have made for someone that's brand new to trading? No. You can use tradingacademy.com. There are a bunch of good videos out there. I will ask you this, Chio. So I've had multiple people tell me that this session here that we do every day live is way too advanced for somebody who's new, and they get frustrated. They don't understand it. You can do me a favor for anybody who feels that way. Make me a list of topics that you would want me to cover. What is it that you would like to know, right? Just sit down tonight, make a list and say, I want to know this and this and this and this and this. Make a big list and email it to me at TraderMerlin@gmail.com. What I may do, it probably is not going to happen this year. I'll start maybe in January. I need to get past the end of the year. Gets kind of crazy for me. But what I could do is I could start maybe doing pre-recorded videos. These sessions are live. I love the live sessions. I feel it's much more natural. It's much more fun. If I make mistakes or videos crash, that's the nature of the beast, right? I don't trade on recorded data. I'm trading live in real time. So I figured the show should be done that way as well. But what I may do is I may start doing more educational topics, maybe to broaden my viewer base, and maybe that might help you. So let me know which ones you would like to look at or what you would like to learn. You can email me at TraderMerlin@gmail.com, and I'm happy to, we'll see about my time permitting, maybe creating a bunch of self-paced videos that I post on my YouTube channel. So thank you, Chio, for that one. I personally don't have any right now, but I'd be happy to put some together. Let's see. Eric says, Merlin, are agricultural futures as volatile as something like the ES, or is it about the same? Way more volatile. Way more volatile. Absolutely. They're crazy, Eric. You look at agricultural futures, the percentage moves just dwarf indexes. Remember, the S&P is really 503 different companies. If I go out here and look at something like, I don't know, let's look at corn. Right now, corn looks really calm. But look at some of these moves back here. Corn, just absolutely ridiculous. Corn was trading at 672 and fell down to 470. That's a 200 point drop, which is roughly 30%, 29% in 15 days. That, my friend, is some serious volatility. You look at wheat, right? Wheat has been calming, but there still are just giant fluctuations with commodities. One big thing I'll caution you on with commodities is you got to look out for each specific contract. So Oliver says orange juice. Yeah, OJ has been absolutely nuts. Let's go OJ. Let me see if I can bring that one up for you guys. Here's frozen orange juice. I mean, this one hasn't actually been volatile. It's just been on a unbelievable trend. I mean, this looks like a growth stock that just came out with a brand new product, a new app that is just taking off and everyone's using it. This is orange juice. Like, what are we in a mimosa frenzy? Like, are people just fighting for orange juice nowadays? It's just shocking to me. You go back to the 2021 lows, orange juice is up from the bottom to the exact top there, which we achieved just a couple days ago, 263%. So when you start telling me that inflation's under control, you're crazy. I don't know if you guys, was it Paul Krugman won the Nobel Prize for economics? And I don't know if you guys saw his tweet. Let me see if I can bring this up for you so you guys can all laugh. I hope he took it down, because honestly, you're an idiot for posting this. He's getting a lot of heat for it. Oh, there it is. Here you go. This is the tweet from Krugman, who won Nobel Prize for economics. It says, the war on inflation is over. We won at very little cost. Notice what it's telling you here. It says consumer price index. This is the cost of goods and services. When you take out food, energy, shelter, and used cars, has been declining dramatically. Hello, dude. I don't know what world you are living on. If you remove those things from the cost of inflation, what's inflating, right? I'm consuming food. I'm consuming energy. I'm paying for shelter. And, well, I'm not using anything with cars, but I think you'd all agree. You remove those components, you don't have an accurate measure of inflation, right? I think you have to have in food, energy, and housing. Like, those are the fundamental pieces of rising prices. Yet Krugman here thinks that we've fought inflation, we've won when you take those things out. Like, scratch my head and wonder here, how did you hoodwink someone to convince to give you the Nobel Prize? Yeah, crazy. Yeah, right. We don't use any of that stuff, right, Big M? Oh, anyway, it drives me nuts. That one cracked me up. And the fact that it's actually out there, people are just going off on them. It's really kind of funny. I was too flip here. I've been using this particular measurement for a while, so want to be consistent, but it has flaws. Medical insurance, too optimistic, but almost every measure now, heart percent. I don't know. He's a clown. He totally messed up. It looks like a Twitter for joking. Yeah, it looks like he made a mistake, but whatever. He's not owning it, and I would own that one. You can't be that ignorant to think that you take food, energy, and shelter out of an inflationary index and you can still say we won. Not a chance. So anyway, sorry, we digressed on that one. But yeah, you are looking at dramatic volatility with regards to commodity prices, corn, wheat, soybeans. I mean, even you get to precious metals, you get natural resources like, natural gas. You look at the percentages of natural gas moves. Let's just show you that one here, just for giggles. Where's my NG? Did I pass it? Here's natural gas, down 1% today, or 0.75% today. But I mean, look at the volatility here. These are significant moves that you just don't quite see in the equity markets. Natural gas in 9 days moved up 30%. 30%. Like, what? How can you say inflation's under control? I mean, these are big things. I think natural gas is going to continue the upside here. I think that if we do have issues in the Middle East, which is going to impact oil, I do think you're going to see oil start to surge back up. I think natural gas might start to pop here as well because it can become much more in demand as people are looking for alternative ways to heat or energy sources. So you can see the trend on natural gas has been absolutely great. It popped here recently. We've had a bit of a pullback. My guess is you'll probably see this one continue on up over the next few weeks. So what's left that he is taking into account? Exactly, Joe. That was my question. Like, well, what's left in there? Manufacturing of TVs? Well, we don't have money to buy the TVs, so yeah, prices are going to be dropping for TVs. I don't know. Kind of shocking that he made that statement. Laurie says, is now a good time to buy GBTC? Ooh, okay, so Laurie, this is not financial advice, right? If you're bullish on Bitcoin, then GBTC probably is a decent buy right now because it's trading at a discount. But you got to be bullish on Bitcoin to begin with. If you think that GBTC is going to be approved and convert from a trust to an ETF, then absolutely. I think that the second that happens, it's going to fill that gap, that disparity, and be right at the same price of Bitcoin because now they'll be able to buy and sell Bitcoin freely in there, and it will track much more closely. So I think that there's much more potential upside there for GBTC. That said, it trades differently than other vehicles because it's a trust. And if this does persist or something happens that makes people more pessimistic on Bitcoin, then GBTC could face more downside movement. So I don't own any GBTC. As you guys know, I'm going to go straight to the source and buy Bitcoin. I guess you have to take that risk on. If you're willing to take that risk, then I think there is some good upside potential in GBTC. But I don't own any of it myself, nor am I going to buy any. I'm just going to hold Bitcoin. That's how I'm going to play it. Lisa, I think the guy lives off the land. No need. Yeah, right. He ain't living off the land. That guy's living in New York City. Maybe toilet paper since the pandemic. Nice. I would just buy the actual Bitcoin and then take it off an exchange and a ledger. Yeah, and you guys, if you think about it, if you actually buy Bitcoin and you put it onto a ledger or a paper wallet, right? It's one of these little devices here, a ledger. You're removing it from supply, and the more people that do that, you're influencing the price of Bitcoin to go up. If we get demand increase for Bitcoin, and there's fewer of them out there for people to buy, the price is going to go up pretty sharply. So. All right, I'm going to have to wrap this one up. Let's go to your economic calendar and earnings calendar for tomorrow. We had some pretty big names today on the earnings front. Well, tomorrow you've got a few as well. Not as big. I'll sort these by market cap. We've got Taiwan Semiconductor, the biggest in the world, to be reporting earnings. That's after market close. You have Philip Morris, Union Pacific, AT&T, Intuitive Surgical, which has been benefiting from this AI conversation since they're developing AI robots to do surgery. That's kind of a creepy one. You have the Blackstone Group, CSX, and Freeport-McMoRan for those of you into natural resources. And then on the Forex factory front, what do we got cooking for our Thursday? Let me bring up the calendar here since I have the wrong date on. And I'll go to your Thursday session. You have unemployment claims, which is normal. You have the Philly Fed Manufacturing Index, which people are expecting to get slightly better. You also have Jerome Powell speaking at 9 a.m. That's 9 a.m. Pacific time. So that's going to be during the trading day. Keep an eye on this one. If you are nervous about what Jerome Powell may say, and right now a lot of focus is going to be on his announcement for November 1st, he may give some clues there. It could create waves at 9 a.m. Pacific time. So be careful with that one. You also have natural gas storage, existing home sales, which are expected to decline almost 200,000. That's noteworthy as well. Might have an impact on things like IYR, the real estate ETF. And that's pretty much it for your economic announcements and your earnings front. Okay. What do I think of? Is that you asking about Alcoa's earnings? The AA, you're asking about Alcoa? I'll tackle that one because I don't really follow Alcoa. I don't care too much. What did Alcoa do? They're usually way down here on the market cap list. Where's Alcoa? No, I don't see. Maybe they report tomorrow. I know they're reporting this week. I thought it was actually yesterday or something. Let me see. Or was it today? No, so they didn't report today. Maybe it was yesterday. All right, well, I'm drawing a blank on Alcoa. Let me see if I can look right here and go AA. Alcoa's earnings yesterday. So I don't know, Michael. I haven't had a chance to look at it, but it's supposed to be yesterday, which is normally would be right on my top of my list here, but it didn't show up, so I'm not sure why that didn't happen. Here's the 17th, and I'm scrolling down here through market cap. Alcoa's market cap is pretty small, but I don't see it on my list here unless I blasted through it 5 times. Yeah, I don't see it on my earnings calendar. Was it today? Okay. Oh, let me see. Where is that small little guy? Again, I don't spend too much time on Alcoa. I've never traded Alcoa, NYSE stock. I typically don't trade NYSEs. There's your Alcoa. So they were expected to come out at 113. They came out at 114 loss. So they're losing more money consistently. If you look at the price chart here on Alcoa, let's go with AA. One thing, this goes, I think a lot of the charts, Michael, looks like this one, which is just drifting lower and lower and lower. I mean, Alcoa is up over $50, almost $58. Now it's at 26. You're talking a 50% discount this year alone. But what's going on with earnings, right? They lost $1.14. The previous one, they lost 57 cents. Previous one, $1.29. Previous one, they lost $2. So they're just, they lost 33 cents. So they're losing money quarter after quarter after quarter after quarter. To 70 cents loss there. Yeah, it doesn't look good. Obviously, aluminum is needed. I mean, I need it for my baked potatoes and to wrap my corn when I throw it in the barbecue. But for me, I don't know. I don't see any reason to buy it yet. One of the things when you have something that's this bad, Michael and others, is if you've got a downtrend like this, your bias should be to stay short. If you absolutely can't, like Michael, you said you can't go short, and you want to buy it long, you need to let this prove to you that this trend is over. And for me, there's only one way to let that happen. It's got to start making higher highs. So, and if it doesn't break 28.57, don't buy it. Just leave it alone, stay short, and yeah, it's most likely will keep on trending down. Everything will trend in one direction until it doesn't. And Alcoa will most likely turn around and probably do okay. Street corn sounds so good now that you say that. Hey, what's going on, Don? Good to see you. Tico, where can I buy Bitcoin nowadays? You can buy them on most of these exchanges, right? You can go to Coinbase, you can go to Kraken, you can go to Gemini. Those all have ACH, so you can connect directly to your bank account. You can't buy it on Binance using US dollars anymore. They stopped that back in July of this year. So go to Coinbase, buy it at Coinbase, connect to your checking account, and you can just immediately pull that Bitcoin off and put it in someplace safe where the exchanges don't control it, and you'll actually be helping the price of Bitcoin go up over time. All right, am I still holding Bud? Nope, that was with puts. What are we at with Bud? I haven't looked at that one. So I sold puts on that one, and I'm happy I did. I mean, I sold them back here. This was great. That expired worthless. I forget what the rate of return was, but I remember it was pretty tasty because this thing was falling aggressively. I don't own any Budweiser right now. I don't, there's a bunch of stuff that I sold puts on, like SHWB. Oops, SCHW. Charles Schwab, I've been selling puts on, but nothing right now. We'll see. I'm a little bit skeptical on the financial space. I think that with the rising of this 10-year, you're going to see more shoes drop in the banking sector. So I'm a little bit skeptical to jump in the banks. Right, I'm really not that comfortable going long banking stocks. Even things like Bank of America, which I wrote that article for Bar Chart, I was bullish on it, and it did have a nice run. That article was written back in March. It rallied from 26 bucks up to almost 33. Great, fine. Now it's given back almost all of that and down near those lows. JP Morgan, another one I wrote in that same article, went from, when we were down to those lows, it went from 124 up to 157. I mean, hell of an increase. It's still holding. But yeah, no, I don't own any of those right now. And typically, I'll just sell puts to collect a premium. If I get exercise, great, I'll sell calls against it. But right now, the only thing that I'm betting long on is ExxonMobil, which I have calls on, directional. I'm long calls, and I'm long calls on, our sold puts on XLU, which those will all expire this Friday, and we'll do the whole process over again. Which is better, Coinbase or Coinbase Pro? They're the same thing. If you're using if you're trading on Coinbase, you should never use the regular Coinbase. Always use their advanced site. The advanced site is significantly lower fees and tighter spreads, but most people use the main interface. So you'll see a little switch there. It says basic or advanced. Change it to advanced and then buy there. You'll save yourself a lot of money. All right, that's going to do it. I got to run. BFS. Was that that's that Vietnamese? Yeah. I said this. I mean, I made it very clear. I even drew a red line. I think I said it's going to be below $30 by October of this year. All right, that was my target. Well, it's at $5.95 today. And that really didn't. It took a few days later. I mean, I was calling it when we hit this peak in here at 90 bucks. I said that thing's going to be below 30 within a couple of months. And lo and behold, here we are. Garbage. Pump and dump. Stay away from it. Typically, what it looks like. SPR. Okay, you guys keep asking me questions. I'm going to end up doing an hour show today. Spirit Aerosystems Holdings. This Spirit Airlines? Ugh, gosh. Yeah, I mean, this goes right back to what I was talking about earlier. It looks pretty ugly. I don't know what the news was that caused this big pop today, Michael. But tell you what, look right here. There's a supply zone right here. Right at 2176, which we went into today and sold off from. Now, that would be my target for this thing, and now I'm thinking short. I would not be thinking long SPR right now. But. All right, guys, that's going to do it for me for today. I wrap up. I got no guests for tomorrow, or I don't usually do guests on Friday, so I got nothing planned for tomorrow. If you guys have something you want me to discuss, send it on in, TraderMerlin@gmail.com, or put your comments down below any of the YouTube videos, and I will see you guys tomorrow. Take care.